If you've been following me for a while, you'll probably know by now that I've uploaded a video like this exactly 3 years ago. I wanted to redo it. I'll give you some quick tips, then I'll start by walking through the different weapon types I'll be talking about. Tip 1. Do not swing wildly, it will leave you far too open. Tip 2. Manage distance to your enemy, it'll give you more time to react accordingly. Tip 3. Watch your enemy to determine what they'll do next, then react to them. Tip 4. Press the left movement stick to do kicks. But go in the direction you look, not the direction that your character's body is. Tip 5. Attack from guards and then return or use different ones. This will help you stay protected and you'll be able to actually do attacks a little bit more quickly. Let's go with European longswords. They are bladed weapons which are usually characterized by cross guards, pommels, longer handles and longer blades, which allow for deeper cuts and more strength when piercing. Usually, they are sharp on both sides, but there are exceptions to this rule, like messes. The longsword. The first and most simple guard you can learn is Vomtar, which is demonstrated by holding your sword just in front of your stomach area. This will allow you to react to attacks coming from the side and from above. It also provides some coverage to attacks coming from the front. The second is Ox, which is demonstrated by holding your sword above your head and pointing in front of you, which gives you elite coverage for overhead attacks, as well as provides openings to stab. The third is a crossbody guard, which is demonstrated by holding your sword at the same height as the Vomtar, but placing the sword in a way so it covers your body, bottom left to top right and bottom right to top left, and this provides more opportunity to block because you are already in the position to block. A fourth guard, what I'll call a front guard, which is demonstrated by holding your sword at the same height as the Vomtar, where you point your sword in front of you. By using all of these, you can switch between them and adjust them for any occasion. For example, you could bring the Ox guard down to provide better coverage against attacks to the side. The Slaughter Sword. This world's counterpart of a classic Zweihander, which literally translates to two-hander, even though the name could also apply to regular longswords. In this instance, I'm referring to the biggest versions of these longswords. Due to the almost identical nature, all guards I just taught you, you can use here. However, with great swords, you can do some interesting things. If you take it and swing it around in a circle, you can threaten all opponents around you, which wouldn't always work with shorter swords because they lack the same reach. I do this by keeping my left hand still and swinging my right arm around. One-handed swords. Bladed weapons which can have a variety of features. They can be thin or they can be thick, but here is where the line blurs between a saber and a traditional arming sword. Regardless, they are effective at cutting and stabbing. The smaller size means they can be paired really well with shields or daggers. The Iranian sword and riding sword. Being shorter versions of the longsword, you can apply all guards here too. However, due to a lack of the same leverage and reach, you'll have to change it up. Make use of your non-dominant hand by placing it in front of you around the chest area. By doing so, you can redirect strikes or grab a hold of polearms after missed swings. Just to reiterate, make use of the Vomtar to protect yourself and the Ox guard so you can make use of the pointy end. The Rapier. Rapiers are unique compared to the other weapons so far. Being completely engineered for stabbing, you'll have to make sure it is always pointed at the enemy for great effect. When I use rapiers, I essentially place them on a flat plane and rotate them around it. In other words, I move them 180 degrees around in a semicircle in front of my body. I will also make use of my body and stretch myself out to make precise strikes from far away. Sabers. As we know them now, sabers appeared in Europe somewhere around the 15th century. Blades are often curved, but not necessary. Only one side may be sharp, or else it becomes a regular one-handed sword. They rarely have cross guards, like for example Polish Hussar sabers. They'll usually have a hand guard to cup the hand, or be paired with gauntlets or thick gloves. The Santara Saber. As similar as it may be to any other one-handed sword, Saber is geared towards small pokes and devastating slashes. I'd recommend using this by mixing in flicks in the wrist, then bringing your hand back towards you so you're ready to defend. This is one of the few weapons where dramatic swings can work really well, since using it like a regular straight double-sided blade could be awkward and slow. Using footwork to your advantage and placing your strikes well will make the difference between a quick win or a quick loss. You can make use of the Vomtar to great effect here as well. This ensures that you could have space to counterattack. You can also bring the saber up above your head to block strikes as well, to give you the opportunity to make devastating swings. The Reich Sword. Fabled Katana, making use of a longer handle and Saber rather than a hand or crossguard from Europe. They are usually shorter than long swords, but they make up for it in cutting ability. In an environment not dominated by plates and chain armor, the Katana is king. To use it to the best effect, you want to adopt the ideology of warriors from Eastern Asia, usually characterized by the phrase, hesitation is defeat. What this means is, strike fast and strike true, because the deadliest of all weapons on the field is the one which is wielded by the one that does not fear death. You can adopt similar guard like the Vomtag or High Vomtag, as well as the overhead guard I spoke of. You can also use the guard which places your sword in front of your body, because as much as the Katana is a slashing weapon, it can also stab very well. Daggers and knives. These are the shortest of all war weapons you might find on a battlefield and are almost always restricted to stabbing. Machetes do not follow this rule, but they are also closer to a tool. A lot of the time, daggers are thin to allow access in between gaps of armor, but they can also be tapered so you can make deep cuts too. The Noble's Dagger. An ornate dagger that is just as sharp as it is beautiful. It features a really good crossguard to allow for deflecting or parrying, and pairs especially well with one-handed swords. Due to the small size, parries are hard to pull off, but by managing distance effectively, it is manageable. Place the dagger in your dominant hand and keep your arm outstretched to create the impression that you have the same reach as swords. I would also recommend you crouch somewhat. You have to look for your moment and take your shots, because if you don't, then you might just run out of chances. Quick stabs in vital areas, because your target may live long enough to hit you even if they're dying. Polearms, axes, clubs, and spears. These are the longest of all war weapons. I put these together because there are so many types but can be easy to differentiate. From here on, the weapons start to blend into one, so just like longswords, greatswords, and one-handed swords, you can use almost all techniques to the same effect. For this reason, I won't be explaining all of them for each weapon, but rather just give one technique for each, which is applicable to all of them. Cutting. This belongs to axes, which provide huge leverage to cleave through tough surfaces. The Bardiche is a huge axe, typically used by a heavily armoured soldier. It offers great crowd control and cutting power. Use range to your advantage. Place your non-dominant hand far in front of your face, and your dominant hand above your head. This will allow you to punish sloppy movements with downward swings to the head and to apply pressure. Something you will see me do with most two-handed weapons is that I'll go to swing, but then I'll swing it back around behind me once my hands end up parallel to the ground. This allows you to commit to several quick strikes, even with heavy weapons, allowing momentum to take over. Blunt. This belongs to hammers of all sorts, to allow for devastating force to smash things. The Great Mace is a huge hammer, offering stopping power like no other weapon. Use the long handle to your advantage as a tool for parrying. This is because the head is too heavy to control. You can hold the Great Mace across the body and react accordingly, but almost all attacks you do will naturally place you in the position with the weapon raised above your head to give you the right wind up and force. However, you can also use the top of the mace to stop your opponent in their tracks and deliver a heavy blow. Stabbing. This belongs to spears, which have great stabbing capabilities along with some cutting due to the leverage that the handle would give. The Sentry Spear is a more ornate version of a typical wing-tip spear, which makes sure that the blade never sinks so deep that the spear gets stuck too far into a target. This spear offers beautiful control and cutting power along with stabs. A technique I would recommend if you have trouble with hitting where you mean to is letting your front hand slide along the weapon. This can be done by holding down trigger on the controllers. Then you push with a hand that's further to the back, which gives you really precise stabs. Just think of it as a really cool pull cue. Eventually, history actually tried combining all three of these, and it was fairly successful. The perfected polearm, offering cutting, stabbing, and armor piercing. There is not much to say about this weapon because it envelops all of the previous categories. You can stab, you can cut, and you can bludgeon. However, something interesting you can do is hooking. You can make use of the hook shape to pull weapons away and even damage hands if they get caught in it. One-handed axes and clubs. These are the short variants of the aforementioned weapons, besides spears. Often used as sidearms, soldiers would hold warhammers or axes, which could be used in one hand, even though axes weren't all that common for wealthy soldiers, unless they were using the polearm variants. I'll try to keep this one brief because all of these are practically the same. The battle axe. This is a shorter and slightly altered version of the Bardiche. It offers good cutting, but reach is limited. That wouldn't matter all that much if you are fully armoured. It is important to disclose that all of these weapons were sidearms, so they were used in a last-ditch effort or to fulfill a specific purpose. Raise your hand above your head and make use of your strong downward strikes to end fights quickly. On recovery, pull it back in a figure of 8 pattern, so you can throw out another strike in case the first one misses and your opponent tries to punish you for that. The flanged mace. For what it lacks in defensive capability, the mace makes up for it in quick and easy stopping power. Once again, using these is best when wearing armor. The purpose of the mace is to crush things, and crush things it will do very well. Use these for heavily armored opponents, and soon enough they'll go down like a sack of potatoes. The crow's beak. Similar to the halberd, this also serves as a multi-tool, but it leans further towards the mace category. The flat face allows it to deal lots of damage with a whole bunch of force. The other side provides you with a pointed beak-looking thing, which you could use to hook, but it's mainly for piercing armor, and with enough force behind it, you could pierce skin too. Well, that brings us to the end of the guide. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I put a whole lot of thought behind this and took some of the criticisms I had on the previous rendition of this video. I'm currently very busy, so I likely won't be uploading very many videos for a while, but I like revisiting this kind of video style, and I wanted to also just make it a little bit more interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and that'll be all from me, so thank you for watching this far. I'll see you around.